Do you believe that you can heal yourself? Too often we give our power away to something outside of ourselves, and rarely, if ever, trust and tap into our innate healing power and intuition. Everyone has this capability to heal in ways we never thought possible. It's your sovereign right to claim and have true health and lasting wellness. Now, here is the host of the Dr. Dolores Show, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in our amazing world. And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And I like talking to you guys about topics that are important in this timely presence in our evolution as a human species. So today's topic is called the dark side of toxic positivity. And I think we've all had experience with this, maybe even personally, or we know people who are just uber positive, and it's almost like they're so positive that they are using it as a deflection so they don't have to go and look at their stuff. It's like what we call a bypass. And, I wish I could, wave my magic wand in the air and say, poof, you don't have to feel anything or experience anything that's not labeled as positive. But in fact, that's not what reality is. And that's not what it's like to be human here on earth. It's like we're here to experience duality, and that with duality comes emotions, and we're here to experience emotions. Believe it or not, we, before we're born, we actually pre-plan our lives on what we want to experience. And a lot of times, many souls are on the other side awaiting to come to earth to have an experience, because in order to experience emotions, you have to have a physical body to do so. Bet you didn't know that, but that's the truth. So there's souls lined up on the other side just wanting to come to planet Earth and to learn about duality and also to experience emotions. They plan their lives before they come here, and they are given a dose of amnesia, so you don't remember any of this, and then you're born, and then you try to figure it out. So the big cosmic joke is that you've lined up to come here to experience emotions, yet when you are here, you dip your toe into the pool of emotions and you like retract and go, oh my God, I don't want to deal with that. That's just too painful. And we retract and get ourselves out of our physical body into our head, where we play the games trying to control not feeling, suppressing the emotions, or even possibly wanting to just get a bypass, or do something to keep it at bay so we don't even have to open the lid of that box to deal with anything. And this is not what our purpose is on being on Earth, planet Earth right now. So it's really a big cosmic joke for the beings on the other side when they see this, because they're like, well, you wanted to come here, you wanted to experience emotions, you tip your toe into it, and you're just like freaking out. And what a waste of a lifetime, really. You look at it from that perspective. In order to experience emotions, you do have to have a physical body. And in fact, you have to be in your physical body to do so. So when we talk about the dark side of toxic positivity, I feel that maybe we all have a touch of that to some degree, and it's like a continuum. It's like you either are off the rails with just being a Pollyanna, like nothing bothers you and everything's fine, or you have, a little of that. So I find that it's important to have a balance between, experiencing the positives, but also the negatives as well, and not just bypass everything that's not what you label positive and ignore it. Because let me tell you, emotions, whether they're positive or what we label as negative, are pockets of emotion. They're pockets of energy. So when we don't express that pocket of energy, it's got to go someplace. So over time, it starts accumulating in your energy field, and the tipping point is when it kind of starts tipping over into your physical body and creating blockages in your physical body, which create illnesses, anything that's not healthy related, and also it interferes with your well-being as well. So, it's interesting, the topic of being positive. Why would somebody want to be so positive all the time? And it's really a red flag for me when I see that, especially when people are in the healing industry, or they call themselves healers or whatever. They're always positive, and it's just like red flags come up, because this is not reality, and you are going to experience the highs and the lows, the peaks and the valleys of life here on earth. That's just the way it is. And it's really about how we tap into that and cope with that, and how we are able to move forward from those experiences, that allows us to develop at a truly rich and deep, uh, really allows us to grow at a very deep level, and to allow our soul to expand and capture the wisdom that we are obtaining by having these experiences. So let's define what toxic positivity is. It's the excess and ineffective overgeneralization of happy, optimistic state across all situations, no matter what. And it usually leads to denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. And some of the things to remember are, it's like dismissing your negative emotions. It involves insisting on a positive outlook and rejecting any feelings of sadness, anger, or frustration, which can be harmful because it prevents the individuals from processing their true emotions. There's the pressure to be happy. That's, I think a lot of people just want to be happy, so they try to make something happen instead of just allowing it. It creates a societal expectation that people should always be happy and positive, disregarding the natural ebb and flow of human emotions. This is where it gets dangerous, people, because when we get lopsided and don't experience I'm going to say the infinity sign, the figure of eight. Okay, it's always in motion. And if you have a pole that's negative and a pole that's positive, you just focus on one side, that infinity sign is going to get lopsided, and it's going to get out of balance. There's a natural ebb and flow between positive and what we call not so positive. And it's a flow. And just when you think you're not going to be able to get out of one pole, it turns and you go to the other. So it's just being in the dance of life that's really important. Another reason, or another thing about toxic positivity, it's invalidation of experience. By pushing for positivity, it can invalidate and dismiss the challenges and struggles that people face, making them feel misunderstood and unsupported. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, how sometimes when people start giving, advice, unsolicited advice, or, they're being experienced by other people's not so good situations, how they handle that, and how it really is a huge disservice to those people, because they're not allowing these people to be who they are, and these people are not being heard and seen the way that, that is validating to them. And it's really surface level optimism. It promotes a superficial sense of optimism rather than addressing the underlying issues or fostering genuine emotional well-being. So it's almost like wanting to, pretend that everything's fine, when in essence you are sitting on a time bomb of emotional stuff that is more like unconscious, or maybe it's unconscious. You just stuffed it down, pretending that it's not there, but it's energy and it's still there. And a lot of times people could see right through that. I mean, if you're a real sensitive person, an empath, intuitive, or highly sensitive person, you're going to see right through that stuff and know that, red flags are flying up all over the place in regards to this situation, that something's off. Some examples of toxic positivity or telling somebody who is grieving to just look at the bright side. Sometimes it's just better just to be present and not say a word so a person could feel who you are. Sometimes they just want that support. But by telling them, making light of it, you know, it's like, who are you really assisting? Are you assisting that person or actually assisting yourself so you don't have to deal with the pain of it? Okay. Responding to somebody's expression of frustration with the term, oh, just be positive. Um, well, I know people have said that to me, and I'm like, no, I'm feeling what I'm feeling right now, and I'm honoring that. And if that's a problem for you, that's on you. That's not on me. That's not, that's your issue, not mine. Insisting that everything happens for a reason in the face of somebody's misfortune. Well, that might be true, but that's probably not what they want to hear right now in this moment. So it's about being sometimes if you have nothing to say, don't say anything at all. Just be present with them. Your presence is more important than words sometimes. And sometimes when we open our mouth and the words come out, it just throws a wrench in the whole scenario. Just this is why it's important to be mindful about what's going on in your environment and tuning in to what is happening around you. It's not really all about us. It's us and everybody else. So the impact of toxic positivity, it's emotional suppression, and we talked a lot about that already. It suppresses your true feelings, leading to increased stress, anxiety, depression, and of course, it contributes to a lot of illnesses and wellness things that, have the undercurrent of being influenced by this. It leads to isolation. Individuals may feel isolated and misunderstood when their negative emotions are not acknowledged. So that's on the flip side of that, too. It's when we're not able to really look at what is going on in our environment and we kind of hone in because we just want to put it in a nice little package and put it on a shelf and not deal with it. So we say something so it ends the conversation and it stops the flow of intimacy, and it's not, it's about connecting with other people. It stops that connection. Another impact of positive toxicity is the reduced resilience that people experience. Okay. So it takes a lot of effort to really try to control something. And if you doubt that, I invite you to really, look at that because sometimes we exert so much energy into trying to keep things at bay. And it's more of an unconscious thing that it's exhausting. It's like we're trying to, it gives me the visual of, have you ever seen like in comedy shows or magic shows where the plates are spinning on these sticks and it's like you're trying to keep all the plates spinning at the same time and one's getting wobbly and you see the person running back and forth trying to spin all those things and then they add more and it's spinning. That's just what it's like. We get so overwhelmed with so many things that we're trying to control by the spinning of that visualization that eventually it just implodes on itself and the plates come flying down. And we come flying down too, and we are exhausted because we can't do anything better. So it does reduce our resilience. Also, some healthy alternatives may be validating your emotions, acknowledge and validate both the positive and negative emotions. So important. We're not one or the other. We're a combination of those two things and the shades of gray in between because nothing is black and white. There's all these different shades in between. And I feel that our society has led us to believe that things have got to look a certain way in order for them to be accepted or what we consider perfect. Who made that rule up? Seriously. I think it's time that we shift that paradigm. What do you think? Another healthy alternative is balance your perspective. Encourage a realistic outlook that accepts the complexity of the human experiences. And trust me, we are so complex that we need to start cutting ourselves some more slack, giving ourselves more grace, more self-compassion, and quit judging and criticizing ourselves ad nauseum. Because when we start doing that, we just go down the rabbit hole and it just lowers our energy. And then supportive listening, offer empathy and support without trying to immediately fix the situation with positivity. Just hold the space for whatever's going on and just say, I'm here for you. I'm listening to you. You're being heard. That's what the person wants. They don't want, they want to be validated for that experience that they're having. And by us trying to cut that short and wrap it up in a little box with a bow to make it perfect for us is not the solution. It's about really being present for a person and just allowing them to be as they are. And for us, that might be the hardest thing to do, because if you're a fix-it person, you want it fixed and on the shelf and done and not have to deal with anything else. So I invite you to look at how you show up for other people as well. So when we recognize and address toxic positivity, we can foster a more genuine and supportive emotional environment, allowing for a healthier balance between positive thinking and emotional authenticity. So right now we're going to be heading to our first break, and you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, and we're talking today about the dark side of toxic positivity. So when we return, we'll share some more. See you soon.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Ready to break free from complacency? Welcome to I'm Awake, Now What? Your monthly invitation to embrace conscious living. If you've been feeling lost or stagnant, this is your chance to awaken your purpose. Join our transformative conscious wake-up office hours every month for guidance and self-discovery. Experience the power of clarity and focus as you navigate towards holistic healing and empowerment. Don't just survive, thrive. Sign up now and unlock a wealth of benefits, including enhanced well-being, stress reduction, emotional healing, and connection. It's time to ignite the flames of purpose within and start your journey to a fulfilling life.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. And I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we are talking about the dark side of toxic positivity. And before the break, we were talking about how people want to be positive all the time, and they seem to want to prevent themselves from feeling anything, particularly the things that we label as not so pleasant, and how it really affects not only us, but those that are around us as well, because many of us who are dialed in and tuned in could feel that, a mile away, so to say, and how sometimes it just comes across as inauthentic and not very genuine. So, what we're going to focus on this segment is, what happens when you are positive all the time and not addressing the not so positive emotions and you don't want to experience. So, what really happens to you? So there's like the psychological effect. It's emotional suppression, which when you continually ignore or suppress negative emotions, it can lead to becoming numb, where a person might attempt to feel emotions deeply, whether or not they're positive or negative. It's like you numb yourself out so much you just don't know how to feel anymore. There also another psychological effect may be increased stress or anxiety. And I always look at stress and anxiety as a trigger of something deeper, and it usually is. And it may be a trigger of something that's happening right now, but it can also be the subconscious, the deeper parts of things that we have suppressed in another time and place in this lifetime, or even maybe in another lifetime, a carryover lifetime or a carryover experience from another lifetime, where there's it's like having like a thorn in your shoe, and it's hitting your big toe, and it's like painful, but it's like we ignore it because it's going to go away, and finally when it gets so painful we have to look at it. This is what stress and anxiety is the tip of the iceberg of something really deeper going on within us. So if that happens to you, I invite you to look at that, because it could be a enriching experience going deeper and finding out why this increased stress and anxiety that you're experiencing, because there's always an underlying issue to that. It just doesn't happen out of nowhere. And a lot of times it's an unconscious thing that we've suppressed. So another psychological effect of being too positive all the time is depression. Constant suppression of negative feelings can contribute to depression. Let me say that again. Constant suppression of negative feelings can contribute to depression. Yet unaddressed emotions can fester and manifest as depressive symptoms over time. So when you remember what we were talking about in the first segment, that everything is energy, right? Our emotions are energy, whether or not you experience them or not. When you experience them, that energy dissipates and comes to neutrality. When you ignore them, suppress them, stuff them, that energy is still there. It's still very much part of that emotion. And it's like packing away bubbles of emotion, bubbles of energy in your energy field. And sometimes it gets like our knapsack is just so full of those suppressed energy bubbles that they got to go someplace, and it tips into the physical. And then it starts creating some, physical health challenges for people, in addition to the psychological effects. And we're going to segue into the physical stuff. Also, when some of the psychological effects of suppressing your emotions, it's reduced emotional resilience. And what that means is, without acknowledging or working through negative emotions, you miss opportunities to build emotional resilience. Facing and overcoming challenges is a key part of developing coping skills and emotional strength. And this is about healthy coping skills. Being positive all the time is not a healthy coping skill. It's like you said, it gets on the verge of being toxic and disruptive to you, even though you think that you have it handled. You really don't. It's like throwing icing on a really bad cake. Okay. It's like you need to look at the underlying stuff and make sure that cake is really delicious. So when you throw the icing on the top, it adds to it, doesn't take away from it. So some of the physical effects of being positive all the time and not really dealing with the underlying issues and dealing with the not so positive things is you might develop psychosomatic symptoms, which suppressed emotions can do that. And it could be like nebulous as headaches, digestive issues, and chronic pain. And what we have to remember, the mind and the body are so interconnected, and the emotional distress can manifest physically as well. So even though you're telling yourself one thing, your body is responding another way. So if there's a mismatch between what you're telling yourself and what you're experiencing physically, you might want to look at that. It also weakens your immune system, because what we know is that this creates chronic stress on your system. And stress over time just lowers your immune system. When your immune system is lower, guess what? It's easier to pick up illnesses, diseases, and it makes you more susceptible to a lot of health challenges. Now, some of the social effects are that it can strain your relationships. And you probably know that a little bit, because when somebody is always positive and avoids discussing their true feelings, it can create a barrier to relationships. It really blocks intimacy, because it's like um, you're not wanting to go someplace or discuss something, which is really essential to you um, being, I'm going to say, being a better person, but also it goes deeper than that, being connected with who you are so that you could show up in the best version of you. And see, it's not only just your side, it's other people might find it difficult to connect with you on a deeper level, and they want to share things with them. But if you say that, you're not allowed to talk about this, that, or the other, it could lead to very superficial interactions and, a lot of misunderstandings. People are going to feel like they're misunderstood, not heard, or not valued, appreciated. And another social effect that that toxic positivity contributes to is a lack of authentic support. Friends and family might not realize the extent of the person's struggles, leading to the lack of necessary support, especially if you're the type of person where you're looked upon in your group of friends or family that you have it all together, when in essence you really don't. But it's like you're projecting that outwardly, and then when you really need something, people are not going to believe you or realize that you need support. So it's like it could lead to more isolation and not being supported. So it's really important to really be aware of what you are experiencing so that you could show up in your true authentic self and be really real. There's cognitive and behavioral effects, and we call it cognitive dissonance. It's constantly maintaining a positive facade can create cognitive dissonance, where there's a conflict between the person's true feelings and emotions they display. This can lead to confusion and mental strain. And you can witness that too. When you see somebody who's always positive, for me, it's like I'm able to see that, because it's like how they're showing up and what I'm really seeing, there's like a discrepancy, because when they don't want to deal with the not so positive things that have been in their lifetime, ignoring them is not going to make them go away. What we know is that what you resist persists. So if you're going to ignore that, guess what? Whatever that is, it's going to continue to grow to get your attention. So some alternative, some alternative, some alternative, healthy alternatives emotionally validate, acknowledge and validate all emotions, and recognize that it's normal to feel a range of emotions. It is. It's part of being human. It's part of being here on Earth, planet Earth, where we're all working on our PhDs in being human. You need to experience your emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly, bar none. It's all, it's really, really important. Mindfulness and self-compassion, two biggies. Being mindful of what you're doing and also having compassion and not judging and criticizing yourself. Big, big deal. Seek support. Seek out people like myself or other therapists or practitioners or coaches that will help you get to where you need to, and maybe sometimes unravel what is going on with you or why this is happening and your need to be in the role of being toxic, being positive all the time, and what you're avoiding underneath that. And then, healthy outlets, emotional expression, journaling, anything that's going to allow for your creativity are really, really, really important. And by addressing and processing negative emotions, you can achieve more balance and a healthy emotional state, leading to a better mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. So, I think we've all been there, maybe to some degree, that we've had, glimpses of being positive all the time, or we've been told just keep an upper stiff lip and it'll all go away. Or in my family of origin, my mom always say, ignore it, it'll go away. And I used to say to her, I'm trying to ignore it and it's growing bigger. So, I think we've all been there, and we've experienced this to some degree. And when you have lived through that, the richness of experiencing your emotions, a whole gamut of it, brings to the essence of who you are, and it allows you to be more genuine, more authentic, and more real. And that's what it's really all about. So we're getting ready to go on our next break. And so I just invite you just to ponder in your life as we go off, some of the things that you've experienced possibly, and what you're ready to take a deeper dive into looking at, to really allow you to enrich yourself so you can move forward to be the better version of you. So stay tuned when we come back. You've been listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino on Inspired Choices Network. And when we come back, we'll talk more about toxic positivity.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Ready to break free from complacency? Welcome to I'm Awake, Now What? Your monthly invitation to embrace conscious living. If you've been feeling lost or stagnant, this is your chance to awaken your purpose. Join our transformative conscious wake-up office hours every month for guidance and self-discovery. Experience the power of clarity and focus as you navigate towards holistic healing and empowerment. Don't just survive, thrive. Sign up now and unlock a wealth of benefits, including enhanced well-being, stress reduction, emotional healing, and connection. It's time to ignite the flames of purpose within and start your journey to a fulfilling life.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network, and today our episode is on the dark side of toxic positivity. And we've all, maybe you've experienced this yourself personally, that you are toxically positive, or other people who are uber positive and don't seem to deal with any other things except anything that's positive. They don't even want to look at the negative stuff. They avoid it at all costs. And so this is what our episode's been dedicated to today. And, before the break, we were talking about what, kind of drives people to do that, and what it costs us as a person, but also our physical, mental, and emotional and spiritual well-being because of that. It's avoidance. It's like an avoidance technique that some people use so they don't have to deal with the deeper issues that are within them, maybe emotional stuff or traumas that happen to them, and they just suppress them. So, I think what we're going to talk about now is sometimes our society has, and our cultural influences, kind of label what is appropriate and what is not. And I always question this, is like, who made up that rule? It's just like, how did that come into play that people have to act or respond in a certain way? I think those paradigms are hopefully starting to crumble. And maybe if not, I invite you to start crumbling them for yourselves. Sometimes it's the cultural stuff, the cultural norms, where you can't show your emotions and have a stiff upper lip, because anything but that is a sign of weakness, and we know that that is not true. Actually, it's a sign of strength when you could go to what we call the dark side of ourselves, if you want to label it that, and be able to be in the trenches with what we're feeling and just being able to move through. I think our social media, it does us a huge disservice sometimes. And, the whole thing about, we talk about toxic positivity, thus the dark side of toxic positivity. It's, everybody said, just think positive or look on the bright side. Well, yes and no. And sometimes it's better to process what you're dealing with and to experience what that energy is of that emotion, because you're getting an experience with that, and then put it to rest, and then adapt, take the gold nuggets from that, and use that as a foundation to go into positivity. Some other things, there's like a lot of times people will, put the facade on of being so positive and stuff like that because they fear vulnerability. Because if they are dealing with negative emotions, it requires vulnerability. And a lot of times people are uncomfortable and find that intimidating. They want to avoid pain, okay? And they want to make sure that everything's perfect because, and we talked about perfectionism a couple of episodes ago on the Dr. Dolores Show, about they have to have everything under control and appear successful and happy when it's externally it looks like the white picket fence, and inside the house it's like a, excuse the expression, shit show, an energetic shit show, emotional stuff, and everything that is stuffed underneath the surface to give the appearance that something is perfect on the outside. Sometimes it's learned behaviors. We pick up a lot of things in our families of origin, and it's, if you want to call it, ancestral lineage that comes through beliefs. It's how we're brought up, and what was discussed was not discussed. Like in my household, we weren't allowed to feel, and so anything emotional just never really got dealt with. And the thing was, if we started crying about something, my parents would say, we'll give you something to cry about, as like trying to sequester any type of um, emotional outbreak because it was considered to be out of control or whatever, and people didn't know how to deal with it. Um, Sometimes we could be in denial. And denial is a common defense mechanism where individuals refuse to accept reality or facts, thereby avoiding dealing with painful feelings and events. So yes, it's easier to put on a happy face than have to go down the rabbit hole sometimes and dig through the trenches. But know that if you choose not to do that, it's still going to be there and it's going to be unconsciously running the show. So I invite you just to take a step, one step down the stairway to the basement of you where all that unconscious stuff lives, and to take one step at a time to go deeper, to reveal what's underneath in the basement that needs to be dealt with. It's important to explore that for your own personal health and well-being, but also for you to gain more ability to be in the present moment. Because when you've got so much stuff going on subconsciously, it's so challenging to put icing on a cake that is made out of garbage. Okay. And I'm sure you got the visual. So it's about having the delicious cake with the beautiful icing on it instead of the icing covering up the garbage. Okay. I hope I made that clear. Anyway. So some of the consequences of bypassing negative emotions, we talked a lot about that, but I just want to reiterate this. It's so important to acknowledge and validate all your emotions. Recognize your feelings and validate your emotions without judgment. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel sad, angry, or frustrated. And just give yourself grace and self-compassion. It's not about judging and beating yourself up. It's about allowing yourself to be right where you're at with the grace and the capability to be present with yourself. So another way to help yourself with this is to practice mindfulness and self-compassion, like we were just talking about. Mindfulness, engage in practices that keep you present with your emotions. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. When we do mindful activity is anything that allows you to be in the present moment. It's like how I define where you lose all sense of time and place. We've all had those moments where you're doing some type of craft or doing a jigsaw puzzle, and you're focusing on that and you're right in the moment with it, and hours go by. It's like timelessness. So those are activities where you could be out in nature, or you could be reading a book, or you could even be driving in your car where you lose all sense of time and place. It's like you're in the present moment. You're able to access all your senses, your sight, your smell, your taste, your feel, your sound. All of those things are right there with you, and you're able to be right in the moment with that. It's about also having open communication, being open and honest about emotions within your relationships, and sharing your feelings with trusting friends, family members, or a coach or a therapist. Set healthy boundaries. Set boundaries with people who promote toxic positivity. Let them know that you appreciate their support but need space to express and process your true feelings. And sometimes that's a gift for that other person when you set those boundaries. They're not aware of what they're doing. Healthy coping mechanisms, like we're saying, mindful activity, creative outlets, journaling, physical activity, exercise, walking helps manage stress and improves your mood. Yoga, running, or even a walk can be beneficial. Challenge your negative self-talk. Identify patterns, reframe your thoughts. If you're starting to beat yourself up and you say, I'm just not worth it, you need to take a deep breath, stop yourself and say, look in the mirror and say, you're doing a good job. You're worth it. You're doing a good job. And we're going to say promote realistic positivity. It's the balance. It's like, I think what happens is like, we want to bypass the bad stuff and get to the pot of gold, but sometimes you need to go through the bad stuff in order to get to the pot of gold. The pot of gold is the gold nuggets and the wisdom that you've attained from having that experience. It just doesn't appear to you and poof, it's there. When you're able to move through that and experience that, you gain so much wisdom and insight that these are the gold nuggets. That's your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Okay. So you've been listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. We've been talking about toxic positivity and how it affects us and what you could do about it. And when we return, we'll just wrap it up, and I'm going to share some news about what's up for next on the Dr. Dolores Show and some of the programs that we're going to be offering in the very near future. So stay tuned, and we'll see you when you get back. Take care.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Ready to break free from complacency? Welcome to I'm Awake, Now What? Your monthly invitation to embrace conscious living. If you've been feeling lost or stagnant, this is your chance to awaken your purpose. Join our transformative conscious wake-up office hours every month for guidance and self-discovery. Experience the power of clarity and focus as you navigate towards holistic healing and empowerment. Don't just survive, thrive. Sign up now and unlock a wealth of benefits, including enhanced well-being, stress reduction, emotional healing, and connection. It's time to ignite the flames of purpose within and start your journey to a fulfilling life.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, and we're on the Inspired Choices Network. And today's topic of our episode has been the dark side of toxic positivity. And I think we've all either have known people who are really toxically positive, or maybe we are ourselves. But we've been talking about unraveling that a little bit to learn more about that. But before we carry on, I got some news to share with you people that I think is pretty exciting. I am starting a monthly group that's called I'm Awake, Now What? And it's for people who are waking up. Maybe you've been in, your life has been going pretty well for a while, and all of a sudden it's like the rug has just been pulled out from underneath you. Maybe you lost your job, your relationship status is changing, or maybe you need to pick up and move household. What I'm saying is that a lot of us are waking up. We have been duped to believe that what is outside of ourselves, the external, is the real deal. And when these things start happening, it really starts us questioning who we are and where we're going. And what had been working before on the external is no longer working for us. So this platform is for people who are waking up, who are maybe lost and don't have a reference point as to what's next for them or how to go about where they want to go or how to navigate through this. And my colleague, Cozy Stankatis, and myself, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, we're offering this program on a monthly basis. It's a membership program, and it's there to offer you support and resources and wisdom as to what's going on for you and possibly how you may choose to navigate and move through that. So stay tuned for more information about that because it'll be on my website, drdoloresfazzino.com. I'm Awake, Now What? And you'll find more information about our offerings for this. And we look forward to really supporting and helping you on your journey of awakening. So before break, we have been talking about toxic positivity, the dark side of toxic positivity. And so what I want to do is just kind of recap what today's talk was about and how important it is to balance toxic positivity. We do that by recognizing and validating that all emotions, not just the positive ones, are essential. And how we achieve this balance is by acknowledging and validating emotions, all emotions, not just the ones that we choose to label as positive, but the ones we also choose to label as negative or not positive at all. Is recognize and accept both positive and negative emotions without judgment. Key is without judgment or criticizing it. And if you feel like that is you're judging and criticizing it, I'm going to invite you to focus on self-compassion. So that'll help you. Practice mindfulness and self-compassion, just like we said. Mindfulness is to stay present with your feelings and practice self-compassion to treat yourself kindly during tough times. And we all go through tough times. It's part of being here on earth. It's our opportunities for growth at a very deep level. Create a supportive environment. Encourage open communication about emotions. Set boundaries with those who promote toxic positivity. So speak up and, you're in charge. If somebody's projecting their toxic positivity on you, you could set a boundary with them and say, look, I choose to deal with my emotions, and when I'm ready to talk to you, I will, or whatever you choose to say. Just be kind. Develop healthy coping mechanisms, and we talked about journaling, outlets, physical activity. Educate yourself and others. Learn about emotional health and share the knowledge to promote understanding and acceptance of all emotions. So I'm going to say lead by example with that, because I think it's so important. When we lead by example, we're walking our talk. Seek professional help if you need it. A therapist, a coach, support group, somebody like myself. Challenge your negative self-talk. Those are the small things we could tweak within ourselves that could shift ourselves. And promote realistic positivity. Embrace a balanced view of situations, acknowledging both challenges and positives honestly, and accept imperfection. So embrace your authenticity. Balance is the key. Self-compassion matters. Connection heals. Grow through the challenges. Mindfulness is a new buzzword in power play, okay? Being mindful is a superpower right now. It's okay to seek help. Celebrate the small victories. And remember, perfection is an illusion. Embrace your imperfections and understand that nobody has it all together all the time. And if they do, that's truly an illusion. Imperfections make us human, okay? And have a lot of gratitude with honesty. Practice gratitude in a way that acknowledges both good and the bad. This balanced perspective fosters true appreciation and resilience. So there's a lot that we kind of covered today. And I think the most important thing that I could leave you with is just to remember to really look at yourself and do so in a way that you're not judging or criticizing. Have a lot of self-compassion and just allow yourself to feel what is going on with you. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being right or wrong. It's just about you being your true, authentic self. So as we sign off here, I'm just going to say this one thing. Happiness is not a matter of intensity, but of balance, order, rhythm, and harmony. And this is by Thomas Merton. So I leave you with that, and just be kind to yourself, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. Dr. Dolores returns Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself and create your best life. You are worth it.